Please wait up in mind. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm preparing myself for us, and we are live already on social media. See someone logged in already. Thank you so much. But we are coming to you live shortly.
From one ER about the other. Listen up, you're at a higher time in your life. Right now, you're listening to Avril. Let the truth be known.
In the politics area, she have it.
Never had a boring moment in my life.
She's the voice of the Caribbean.
Back as I remember, I was never alone. Queen Avril is on the throne. No more feeling lonely. Avril rules the air, Every day is like an Avril day.
Welcome, and thanks to everyone who is already in tune. And good evening to you, Ram Mills. I thank you so much for tuning in. Good evening to you, Nandi. Good evening to you, Paula. And it's nice to know that you're in tune early. It means that you're concerned about what we're talking about. So thank you so much. And I know I am joined tonight by Captain Michael. When you feel so good when we're talking to a fireman and you realize my intro has fire in it. So he's going to tell me how to keep the flame down tonight. Good evening to you, Captain.
Good evening. How are you?
I am good. And thank you so much for taking the time. This show is about timing. And when we're talking about a fire, we have to be on time. So we cannot sit here and wait for everyone to join, but we know everyone will look at it later in their spare time. But for now, right now, we are live on social media and YouTube, and we thank you so much for tuning in. And tonight, we're going to put a light on some of the fires. That's what's going on around here. And no matter where you are, this information can help you and your family. So thank you for tuning in and being a part of this. Welcome. I know you're not no stranger to the Avril Show, but taking your precious time to be here is important because we know what we have been dealing with over the last few months. It has been fire and fire. So for you to take your time and be here, I will allow you to introduce yourself to the viewers.
Okay, so I'm Captain Michael Kozo. I am the officer in charge of the Fire Safety Education Unit for the FDNY. I've been the officer in charge for about 7 years now. I have a little over 22 years with the FDNY. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Okay, and tonight we're here to talk about fire, and I know some people like Paula herself who has been giving me a mouthful today of what she want to hear and what they want to know and what they want to understand. And I asked them to please comment on the chat, and if there's a question, feel free to comment on the chat, and I will try my best to read as much as we can. But it has been very scary what we have been seeing out here. The fires, especially the one in the Bronx. I know there was one either in Brooklyn or Manhattan lately. So we would like to hear from you. What is going on with this fire? Is it we're not doing the right thing in the homes? Is it the things that we are doing wrong? And we want to hear some of the tips that you can give us with fire. Because one, let me start with one. The extension cords that we use in our homes, that I spoke to someone just recently that says, but what was wrong with the one I have? I said, for some apparent reason, it don't have the switch that goes off when it's overheated. So I would like you to elaborate for Miss Paula about this electrical cord that we use to put 20 things attached to it.
Yeah, so we'll talk about those cords. Those cords are a cause of several of the fires we've seen recently. So the major rule of thumb that we have to keep in mind is any item that heats or cools has to be plugged directly into the wall, right? So we're talking about our space heaters, microwaves, toaster ovens, anything like that, air conditioners, refrigerators. If it heats something or it cools something, that's to be plugged directly into the wall. No power strips, no extension cords. So a lot of people rely heavily on these power strips, which if you're relying too heavily on a power strip, that's telling you that you probably don't have enough outlets in your home. You need to have more outlets installed. But if you are going to use the power strip, it's for low voltage items only. So we're talking about maybe plugging in your computer or a TV, charging your phone, an alarm clock, a lamp, things like that that are low voltage are okay with that power strip. If you were to plug your average space heater into a power strip, you're already using more power than that power strip is rated to give you. A lot of people use the power strip and they think that they're getting more power. That's not true. The truth is you're getting the same amount of power as if you only use the two outlets in the wall. The only thing is you're giving yourself more access to that outlet. That's really what you're doing. So when you're purchasing one of these, you want to make sure that you're looking for the qualified seal from a testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratory, UL. You'll see the letters UL with a circle around it, just telling you that that item's been tested and approved to use. Also, when you're purchasing one of these, you want to make sure that it is surge protected, right? That it is going to shut off if a surge goes through, or if it's being overused. If it's trying to draw too much power, it will automatically shut itself down, right? And that goes to that switch that you're talking about, where you'll be able to shut it off. It'll switch off, and then you have to physically turn it back on in order to use it again. If it's flicking off, that's telling you that you're drawing too much power, that something's got to give. So just keep that in mind. Don't just go over and turn it back on and keep everything plugged in.
Wow. So you're saying when we buy the extension cord, it comes with at least 5 different outlets on that one. So we plug the computer cord, we plug our, wigs, you want to dry your wig, so you plug in that what you call it, the blower, and you plug something else in, your charger for your phone. So you have 5 things plugged in into that one outlet. So you're saying that it doesn't come. Why do they make them with 5 to make us feel we can plug 5 things into it?
So you can plug 5 things in, and I think they give you more outlets because, some of these plugs and stuff are going to block like other outlets. So they give you space where you can maybe plug something in, and then if it blocks one of the other plugs, you'll still be able to use other plugs. But you mentioned like the dryer for the hair and things like that. That is not one of those things, right? So that is something that heats, right? It creates heat. It produces heat. If it creates heat, produces heat, and it's heating something, it's no good. It has to be plugged directly into the wall. So these power strips are good for small voltage items. You could plug 5 small voltage, low voltage items in there. If you were talking about, your laptop and an alarm clock and a cell phone and a TV and a lamp, those are 5 low voltage items that you'll be able to plug into that. But once you get into those items like a dryer or a space heater, no good.
I think we're paying attention tonight. Ruan Apache, good evening to you. Valencia on YouTube, thank you so much. Cynthia Rodriguez, thank you so much. I know we need this information. And I am just stunned by hearing you say that, because I thought I was doing the absolute right thing by feeling good that I'm buying this extension cord and I could plug all these different things into that one thing, but we're getting the same power. That's what you're saying. We're using the same power with this one extension. So you say you have 5 outlets. How would you know what we should plug in there and what we shouldn't plug and what would be too much? So we already have the laptop attached to it.
Mhm.
And then we
So,
plug the phone.
mhm. And you're still okay, right? You're still good. There's really no like scientific way for you to know just by plugging things in whether it's going to hold or not. What's going to happen is you're going to see it shut itself off, right? All of a sudden it's going to flick off. That's telling you that at that point it's overloaded and something needs to give. So if you were using, let's say, 4 things and you plug the fifth thing in and it shuts down on you, that fifth thing is putting it over that limit. So that fifth thing has to go, or something else is going to have to give in order to plug that other thing in. But again, you cannot plug anything in that heats or cools. If you were to plug one item in that heats or cools, that's probably using more power than that power strip could even give you.
Well, I'm telling you, it's very nerve-wracking to hear this because I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was doing the right thing. So you buy them because you figure you could plug more things into them, but you're not paying attention. But the greatest thing is that when its switch goes off on you, that is good because the cheap ones in those dollar stores, they don't come with the switch that can go off if it's overheated. So the main one that you buy that costs more money, that has the red switch on the end that switch on and off when it's too much power, that is better. Is Am I
Absolutely.
wrong?
Absolutely, you're right. And you
Okay.
want to look for that UL label. You want to look to make sure that it's been tested and approved to use. And like you said, you go to a dollar store, you're not going to find the UL label on a lot of the items that they sell there. And there's a reason why you're buying a power strip at the dollar store for $1, and then you go to Home Depot and you're paying $5 or $6. There's a reason for that, and you're going to get what you pay for.
You hear that, Corinne Phipps? Okay, so now let's back to, I don't want to ask question that has nothing to do with you because there's some questions that the fireman probably just can't answer. But we have all these fires. It's very scary. Someone just text me and say, I'm in a home. I'm on the 5th floor with my grandmother. She's in a wheelchair. There is a fire, but she has a roof that she can open to the top of the building. Should she try to go to the top of the building, or should she stay in the apartment with her grandmother who is in a wheelchair?
So you definitely want to make sure you have a plan. So this is a difficult question because I'm not sure what type of building it is, if it's a fireproof building or a non-fireproof building. But typically you do not want to go up, right? We all know that the fire and the heat and the smoke, it all rises. So as you're trying to go up those stairs, so is that fire and the heat and the smoke is also trying to go up as well. So definitely going up is not the way, but you do want to make sure that you have some kind of a backup plan. If you're not around and she's home alone, that there's a neighbor or somebody around that is going to be able to assist her should she need to get out. But again, it does depend on the type of building that you live in.
So because the fire goes up, if I am on the 4th floor and the fire is on the 3rd floor, I'm on the 5th, someone is on the 6th. Should I open my door to run to help somebody on the upper floor, or should I just remain in my apartment?
Yeah, so if it's a fireproof building, then you remain in your apartment, and that person up on the 6th floor should also remain in their apartment. If it is a non-fireproof building, then everybody has to get out, no matter where the fire is in the building, which is why you will have those other means of egress. You may have a front door and a back door, or a fire escape and a door, so that if one way is blocked by fire, you can always go the other way. But if it's a non-fireproof building, you have to get out no matter what. If the fire is in your apartment, make sure that you're closing all the doors behind you to isolate that fire and keep it inside your apartment as much as possible.
Okay, so just to be on the clear side, I'm in my apartment. You have a 3-bedroom apartment, living room, everything. Close all the doors. And the fire is downstairs. Should we run downstairs or should we remain in the apartment until the firemen come?
The fire is downstairs in your apartment or downstairs in another floor?
Downstairs in another floor, but you are upstairs. Should you run that? You said try to get out, but what if the fire is downstairs and you are trapped on the upper floors?
So if it's a non-fireproof building, then you have to get out, right? Because the fire will spread from one floor to the next, and there's really nothing that is going to stop it. So you do have to get out. So if you're trying to go out through the inside stairs, and there's too much smoke or heat or fire, then you use the fire escape. That would be your alternate means of egress. You always want to try and get out through the inside first. If you cannot go out through the interior, then you would use your exterior means of egress, which would be a fire escape. But if the building is fireproof, and the fire is below you or anywhere else in the building, it's not in your apartment, then it's safer to stay inside your apartment.
How do we know whether we are living in a fireproof or non-fireproof? If you have a question, um, please comment on the chat. How do you know? Because you're living in a building for years until all these fires, many of us are not, we start becoming more aware and concerned now. But we don't know which building is fireproof or non-fireproof. How do we know that we should start checking now?
So there's a few ways. You can check, enter your address onto the Department of Buildings website. They will have a building search on there, and you'll enter your address. You'll be able to look up different certificates of occupancy that will tell you what type of building it is. But in any building, it is required to be posted in the lobby, the type of building that it is and what you do if there is a fire in the building and or in your apartment. So you want to look for the words either fireproof and non-fireproof, or it may say combustible, non-combustible. So non-combustible would be fireproof, combustible would be non-fireproof.
Okay, so take those two words, people. Non-combustible and combustible. Those are two words we have to learn now that we didn't know before. And I went out to impress you. So we got a few of these. So you have them. You see the tag is still attached, right? You bring it into the home, but you don't know how to use it. And a fire come, the first thing that we do, we panic. This one say for dry. It says dry. How do we know which one is for the stove? Because there's some grease, we get a fire. How do we know which one of these we should purchase in the home in case there's a fire?
So we want to make sure we're looking for one that has the letters A, B, C on it. Those are the three different types of fires that it will put out, and that will put out all the types of fires that you will see in your home. You may also see three pictures next to the letters or in place of the letters. Those pictures are representing the types of fires, A, B, and C. If you see an X through one of those pictures, it's telling you it does not put out that type of fire. That's not the extinguisher you want. So you want to make sure you're looking for one that says ABC.
Okay, so the one that's the ABC put out all type of fires. Okay,
correct. So if you look at mine right here, that I have here, you see the three pictures, right? So it doesn't say ABC, although it says it under this little strap, but you see the three pictures. So no picture has an X through it. That tells you that it's an ABC extinguisher. That's the one that's good to use.
Oh, great. So you know what you're looking for. Folks, if there's any question you would like to know, but I know the fireman is giving us a whole lot of information tonight. Captain Michael is here with us. Acronym PASS. Okay. All right. So Paula says she has acronym. So what about a private home? Is it, are you supposed to have that also in the lobby of a private home, like a two-family home that you're renting? Should you have that also in there to know if it's fireproof or none?
I would recommend, regardless of the type of building it is, you should have one just outside of your kitchen. You don't want it in the kitchen because if you have a fire in the kitchen, it's going to be difficult to get to. So you want to have it just outside the kitchen. And the other place we do recommend having one is in your bedroom. Should you wake up in the middle of the night and there's a little bit of fire that's blocking your exit or blocking you from getting, let's say, to your kids' room to get your children or something like that, you'll have that extinguisher handy in your bedroom. You'll be able to grab it, knock down that fire where you'll be able to get to the kids' room or get to your front door and get out. So having them in both places is really beneficial. And that acronym PASS is very accurate, right? PASS, you want to pull the pin. So I know you showed one that had the little band around it. You have to pull that and break that pin off in order to use it, right? So P is pull the pin. A is aim at the base of the fire. The base of the fire is, let's just say we're frying something on the stove. The base of the fire is inside that pan. The first S is squeeze the trigger, and the second S is sweep side to side. So you should be standing about 8 to 10 feet away, and you want to be aiming at the pan and sweeping back and forth. All right. You want to make sure that you're covering the entire pan. You don't want to start chasing the flames that are coming up, because as you're chasing the flames that are coming up, you're using all of your extinguisher. And by the time you get down to the pan, your extinguisher is going to be empty. I would be curious to know if you read that extinguisher that you have there, if it tells you how long you have if you were to squeeze the trigger and not let go.
Okay, so you're supposed to know how long to hold the trigger?
But how long do you think you would have if you squeezed the trigger before that extinguisher was empty?
Oh, wow. So anything that generates heat should be plugged directly into the wall, not an outlet someone just wrote on YouTube. That's a
Directly
question
into
they
the wall
asked.
out, correct, not into an extension cord or a power strip, correct.
Okay, so it says discharge time 8 to 10 seconds.
8 to 10 seconds. Is that amazing? That is not a lot of time when you think about it. So you have 8 to 10 seconds, and that extinguisher is going to be empty.
That's what it means.
That's what it means.
Oh my goodness.
8 to 10 seconds.
So 8 to 10 seconds, that's not enough to put a fire out in a kitchen.
If you're in the kitchen when the fire starts, which you should be, right? We should not be outside of the kitchen while we're cooking. That's one of the number one causes of kitchen fires is unattended cooking. So we need to be in the kitchen while we're cooking. If you're in the kitchen while you're cooking and you see this fire start, you're able to grab that extinguisher right away. You will be able to put the fire out. If it's beyond that, if it's beyond the 10 seconds and the extinguisher is empty, or the fire's been burning for about 30 to 45 seconds, that fire is going to be beyond your control. You have to call 911 and get out.
So this that was given, I guess he was explaining, but is this, you would say, is for what? 8 to 10 seconds. What would you use this extinguisher for?
A few of the things like we mentioned, if you're in the kitchen and you're frying up some food and the oil catches fire or something like that, you'll be able to put out that fire with that extinguisher. If you have it in your bedroom and you need to just knock down a little bit of fire to try and get out of your house, that 8 to 10 seconds would be enough, depending on how far you had to go and how much fire you had to knock down. But it's just something to keep in mind that if you don't put that fire out, that extinguisher is going to end quickly. It's going to be empty quickly. So if you don't even know how to use it to begin with, you're wasting time trying to figure out how to use it. Like you said, a lot of people have them and aren't really sure how to use it. That's wasting time. And now on top of that, you only have 8 to 10 seconds to use it. You're running out of time, and the fire is going to be well beyond your control by that time. You're going to have to get out.
Well, you made something clear. We didn't know what the 8 to 10 seconds mean. We thought it means you have 8 to 10 seconds to pull it, not to use it. So that means you need something bigger, that probably 5 minutes to 10 minutes.
You'll probably never get one that's going to last that long. And if you did, I don't know many people that are going to be able to manage it, because it's going to be so big and so heavy. I mean, one like that has a fairly decent amount of weight to it. Now, remember, you have to hold that with one hand while you're squeezing the trigger and operating the hose at the same time. So, you know, for a lot of people, that's a lot to manage. And the heavier it gets, the harder it's going to become to do.
Is it possible for the fireman to come out? Is it something that can be done inside of like you have the councilman, Kevin Riley, he does this and he wants to do something for the community. Would the fireman be able to show us in a closed facility how to pull it and use it? Or it's dangerous to do that?
Of course, we can, our unit, my unit comes out and we will do fire extinguisher training and show everybody exactly how to use the extinguisher, what kind of extinguisher to use, how long it'll last. We will teach all of that. We don't encourage people to really put out a fire if it's past that 30-second mark. But if you're still within that 30 to 45 seconds, then you'd be able to put out the fire with that extinguisher.
Okay, so you save the, if you walk into the home and you realize there's a fire, you don't know how long the fire been going. It don't make sense to try to grab this to do it. Just run,
Not,
just get back
yeah,
out.
at that point, it's too late. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So no, someone says no smoke alarm in a building. Who gets in trouble? The person that lives there or the building managers?
So the building is required to supply the alarms, obviously at a cost. So they're allowed to charge the tenant, but they have to supply the alarm. Now, if they had supplied the alarm and the alarm is no longer there, then that would be on the tenant. If the tenant took it down, or anything like that. So it depends really on what happened.
Okay. Does the fireman know when they go into the building when there's a fire, whether or not it was the tenant fault, the landlord fault that there, because there's a fire, things get burned. How do you know if there was an alarm there or wasn't there, or if it was
Uh,
working?
So the fire marshals will come out, and that's part of their investigation. After the fire, they will inspect everything that's going on. They'll determine where the fire started, how it started, whether there was smoke alarms there, whether they were working or not. They determine all of that during their investigation.
Thank you, someone. Someone asks, how about using baking soda for small kitchen grease fires?
100%. So, aside from using the extinguisher, you can use your baking soda. You can use the lid to the pan. You have a little bit of a grease fire in your pan, and you have the lid. Put the lid on top. Shut the heat to the stove. That's taking the oxygen away from the fire. You can also, if you have the baking soda on hand, before you put the lid on, throw the baking soda on top. Right now, this isn't the time to be stingy with the baking soda and take out a measuring cup. Right, you want to take the whole thing of baking soda, pour it over the whole pan, and try and smother as much of that fire as you can. Then you take the lid, you put the lid over the pan, you shut the heat to the stove. Do yourself a favor, leave that lid there, leave the pan alone 5 to 10 minutes, no less. A lot of people start to get curious and they're like, I wonder if this really worked. Let me see. And they take the lid off. That fire is going to blow right out of the pan and into your face. And why is that happening? It's happening because when you put the lid on and you shut the heat off, you took two things away that fire needs, right? It needs heat and it needs oxygen. If you take the lid off, you're now giving it the oxygen it needs. That fire is going to chase the oxygen out of the pan and it's going to come right out into your face.
I'm urging you, if you're watching this show, share it on your page so someone that you know can hear these life-saving techniques. Don't take information for yourself. Share it, spread it, so someone else could hear the information. It's very important. Are they giving out free extinguishers? I think that he's telling you where to go and buy the extinguishers. Where are some of the great places to get good extinguishers? Are there any difference or are they all the same?
No, they're pretty much the same. There's a standard for them, so they all meet the same standard. So again, if you're looking for an extinguisher or an alarm, you can also look for that UL label, right? Remember, we looked for that qualified testing laboratory, underwriter's laboratory. You look for that UL label when you're purchasing an extinguisher. I'm sure your extinguisher right there probably has that UL with the circle around it. So just make sure you're looking
Yes,
for
it
that.
does.
Yep.
Absolutely. So you hear this, make sure you look for the the U label,
The UL, underwriter's
the
laboratory.
UL label. Make sure you look for the UL label. And these extension cords, I have to check now. We have to make sure things are plugged directly into the walls. And there was a thing where you have two plugs. Now everything is made with the 3-sprang. So if you have a wall outlet that only have 2 sprang, You have to change that, right? Is that a fire hazard situation
Correct.
there, or?
Correct. You have to change it. So what we've seen and what the marshals have seen that have caused several fires is that people are taking that third prong in your plug and they're actually snapping it off so that they can plug it in. And that is a dangerous situation. So you definitely need to have use a different outlet or have that outlet upgraded.
Okay, so folks, you're listening, update your outlets. Stop using those two outlets, and the three, you want to go the cheapest. So you say, okay, my card only have two plugs, so I'm gonna plug pull one off and use two. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. And I'm guilty. I think one time I tried to do it, I just couldn't get it off. And I was wondering why this come with three when the wall socket only have two. So I had to learn that you had to just change it. And you have to do that. You have to be a professional, has to do that. It's not everyone can change your outlet on the wall.
Correct. You definitely want to make sure you hire a qualified electrician for something like that. The fire on Wallace Avenue not too long ago, I think it was a fifth alarm on Wallace. That was
Yes, right away, right around my corner.
that was faulty electrical wiring. That was the cause of that fire.
Faulty electrical wiring. And
Mhm.
when we say faulty electrical wiring, that means someone that did the wiring in the apartment did it. It wasn't a professional.
It could be. It's possible. There's a few possibilities, right? It could just be very old wiring, and something just sparked and went wrong inside. It could be that they didn't hire a qualified electrician to do the work. There's a few different things that could have possibly happened there.
We're learning. And I know everybody was so concerned about that fire on Wallace. It kind of wake us up here in the Bronx that everybody get curious, want to know. And Janice Martin, I really thank you for posing the question about the baking soda. And as you say, we get stingy. We don't want to waste our baking soda. But as Captain Michael Cuzzo says, do not put the baking soda in the pan. After you cover it, don't go being nosy and try to take the cover off to see if the fire went out. Leave it alone once you spread the baking soda in there. So I guess baking soda is going up now because we're going to be buying baking soda to keep in our home. Can you also put it on the stove top? Like, you have grease, this fire, it's sparking on the stove. Can you also throw it on the stove?
It
Okay.
would work if you really had to like throw it in there, like really cake it on there, right? You can't just sprinkle it. That won't work. So if you have an issue like that, you can give that a shot. The extinguisher might be a little bit better at that point, but you can give it a shot.
But you have to use a whole lot of baking soda and
Yes,
cover the pan and turn the
yes,
stove off.
and turn
Okay,
it off.
good night to you, Elizabeth. And good night to you, Curtis Cook, all the way in St. Kitts, tuning in. So this can also help you when you have fire there in your kitchen. Baking soda works. So I thought that it was a joke at once. People say use baking soda to put out a fire, but it's good to have some baking soda in your house. Don't be stingy with it, Elizabeth. Keep those baking soda close by. We have to protect ourselves. We don't know if we have faulty wiring. Is it something that you can check for? How do you know if you have faulty wiring? If the wiring been done a long time, maybe you can go on to plug something in and then it spark a fire. Can that happen?
Sure, it can happen. So if you go and you're plugging stuff in constantly and you're getting that spark or you're feeling like a little bit of a shock when you're trying to plug things in, that's telling you that something's going wrong behind your outlet, and you should have it inspected.
Thank you. That is very important. Is there anything that you could share with us that you think that we're missing as you have gone through so many fires that we need to hear about, especially when we have children in the home or seniors in the home? Is there anything that you would like to share with us that we need to know as parents?
So right now, I would say that the big thing is having an escape plan with your children and making sure that you have smoke and carbon monoxide alarms in your home. So we go to schools all the time and we do classroom visits and we do education to children. And we ask them all the time, do you know how to get out of the school if there is a fire, right? When the fire alarm goes off. And they all know exactly what to do and where to go. We ask them the same question at home. Do you know how to get out of your home if there's a fire? And they look at us with this blank stare, like, I've never thought about it. They've never done it. Nobody's ever really gone over it with them. So they should know how to get out of their home in a fire just as well as they know how to get out of their school in a fire. So you want to sit down and practice that with them. Point out all the means of egress that you have. If there's a fire on this side of the house, we're going to go out this door. If there's a fire blocking this door, we're going to go out this way. We're going to meet once we get outside. We're all going to meet by this big tree over here or by this mailbox. We're going to meet here once we get out. These are things that you have to go over with them because once a fire starts, that's not the time to start trying to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to get out. So you should know that ahead of time, and so should they. And those smoke alarms save lives. Smoke alarms, having and maintaining a working smoke and carbon monoxide alarm reduces your chances of dying in a fire by 50%. So it cuts your chances of dying in a fire by half. So you should have a smoke-only alarm in every bedroom of your home and a smoke and carbon monoxide alarm on every level of your home.
Did you say you have to have a smoke alarm in every bedroom?
Every bedroom.
Well, I'm going to say I have a smoke alarm in the kitchen area, close to the hallway. So I thought that was enough. So you have you have a house, a whole house with 3 bedroom, living room, dining room. How many smoke alarm do you need? So I could
So if
take
you have a
notes right now.
if you have a 3 bedroom home, you're going to have at the very least 3 smoke alarms, one in each bedroom, and then one for each floor of your home. Usually in the common hallway that leads to the bedrooms is where that combination smoke and carbon monoxide alarm would go, and then one on every other level of the home as well. We should
Okay,
be
because
testing them monthly, right? We want to make
Mhm.
sure that we're testing it once a month. I don't know how many people on this call, but we're in the middle. We're actually towards the end of January. So I'm hoping that everybody on the call has tested their alarms for the month of January. Just make sure you're pressing that test button to make sure that it is working properly.
And Elizabeth Walker say people should not remove the smoke detector. Yes, people are guilty, and people have said they're guilty of doing that. People are guilty of taking out the batteries, and as she say, remove the battery in the smoke, replace the battery. My question to you is, how often should you check the alarm?
So you should be checking the alarm once a month. You're going to test that button, press that test button. Also, the new alarms now are sealed, right? There's a 10-year lithium
Yes.
ion battery inside. So you should no longer be changing the battery or taking the battery out. If you still have an alarm where you have to change the battery or where you're able to remove the battery, you should be replacing that alarm completely because that is well over 10 years old. And it needs to be replaced and upgraded to one of these 10-year alarms.
Okay, because I got the new ones that said 10 years, and I was saying I hope they're really 10 years, but at least within 5 years, I know it's still good. But still test it. It's okay to still test it. Just press it once a month.
Definitely press it once a month to make sure that it's working. You'll hear the noises come out and know the difference in the noises, right? If you have a combination smoke and carbon monoxide alarm, it's going to make 2 different noises. One is for smoke or fire. The other one is for carbon monoxide. So 3 long beeps is for smoke or fire, where 4 short beeps is for carbon monoxide. So know the difference, because if it's carbon monoxide, you're not going to know, right? You don't know that there's carbon monoxide. You can't smell it. You can't see it, taste it. You have no idea that it's there other than the fact that that alarm is going off. So 4 short beeps is carbon monoxide. So just remember that.
Okay, good night all the way from St. Kitts, Rabuka Bass. Yes, good night. Nice program. Thank you so much. Spread it, share the information, share the live, because life save all over the world. This is not a New York thing. This is wherever you are. So as you said, Many of us, and I'm guilty of it, we press it, you hear the beep, you say, oh, it's working. Half of us don't know those short beeps, what they mean. And as you said, if you could repeat it, the four short beeps
Is carbon monoxide.
and the three short beeps is fire.
Three long beeps is going to be smoke or fire, and the four short beeps is going to be carbon monoxide.
This show is something we're going to have to watch over and over when we forget. So we could always come back to this because it's important to know. And I'm glad you brought that up because I hear the beep sometime, but you're just thinking, oh, it's working. And if you hear it, the first thing we think about, there's a fire someplace. You don't hear much people talk about carbon dioxide. And how does carbon dioxide get into our home?
Also, it's carbon monoxide, and you get it in your home by really you have to have some kind of fuel burning appliance. So you're talking about if you have oil based heat, things like that. You have an oil burner. If the oil burner malfunctions, it may be giving off carbon monoxide gas. You will get it from if you leave your oven or your stove running for too long, right? You're going to start to get carbon monoxide slowly building up in your home. So having those alarms is the only way to know that that's happening.
Do you think that homeowners that has boilers should have one close to the boiler to tell them if they're having monoxide in their home?
It should be just outside the boiler room.
There should be one outside of the boiler room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to all of us, we have to learn that tonight. And Paula, Elizabeth, everyone who have a home, Janice Martin, make sure you have one outside of your boiler room. We don't smell it. We don't know until we hear these alarms. This is very interesting to know because I don't think nobody want to be caught in a fire. When I saw the fire that was so close to me on Wallace, I was devastated. I prayed. I said, these firemen, we are running away. They're running in. So we thank you so much for the work that you do that we can't do. We pray that God continue to cover you as you continue to save us. Because it's a job that many of us probably don't even know if we can handle because we see a fire, we running away, so we have to take these things very serious. We have to spread this information. Tell me there is something else that I might be missing. There's a young lady that says today she was giving her daughter a shower. And apparently, however, she have it connected with the fire department, the heat in the bathroom send off the fire alarm. So the fire department came out. So she said she's wondering if it's too close to the shower.
So it sounds like it was probably the steam, is what I'm thinking. The steam
The steam.
from the shower probably set off the alarm, which does happen. So yeah, the alarm may be a little bit too close to the bathroom. You may want to move that a little bit further away.
Okay. These
I'm
are
also
some
wondering
very
if it's a newer alarm too, right? Because the older alarms would send off a lot more false activations, where these newer alarms are a little bit smarter. They usually won't go off for things like that as often. So I'm wondering if the alarm is newer or old.
So you're saying because it went off with the steam in the shower, it could be an older model?
It could be an older alarm. It's possible. And it also could just be too close to the bathroom.
Okay. All right. I will definitely hope that she's listening and get this information because it's important to know, because some people are stuck with things that is old and outdated, but they have it so long they don't want to get rid of it. So is there anything that you can share with me right now? It's so scary. There is homes right now, as Marcia just said, you live in a private home. You don't have no escape because you're on the top. What is an escape? You can't go to the back because in order to go to the back, you have to go down to the lobby. How do you get out when you're going down where the fire is coming up?
So in situations like that, what we recommend is interconnected alarms. So you would have, and you could do these wirelessly now, right? You don't have to have them wired connected. They could be wirelessly connected with Wi-Fi, where you have a smoke alarm on every level of your home, let's just say. And if the smoke alarm on the first floor goes off, it activates the smoke alarm on the second floor. The smoke alarm on the second floor will also go off, telling you that something's happening on the first floor. That would probably be the best way, because that will give you enough of a warning where you'll be able to get out, get downstairs and get out before that fire blocks your exit. The other thing is to
Well,
have that fire extinguisher in your bedroom upstairs with you, should you have to, knock down any kind of fire that's in your way.
wow, just talking about it give me chills. Hmm. So I don't have enough fire alarm. I learned tonight in my home, because I was thinking more. It was more about having one close to the kitchen area and in the hallway. I wasn't thinking about having one in the bedroom. So now you explain to me that I need one in every bedroom of the home. My
Correct.
goodness. And I thought I was doing the right thing, but I ain't started doing the right thing yet. So I'm going to start plugging things out of my extension cord. So if the DJs, Rebecca, Bass, I know you're a DJ, you have everything plugged in to this one outlet. You have all these laptop, this and everything. So anything can cause a fire today that we don't know, because we don't understand fire safety and precaution. So we got to pay attention now to what goes directly into the wall and what is okay. So a little phone, the phone chargers, you could plug in 5 of them and it don't do that any harm.
Correct.
But you're saying something like a computer, and those things should go directly into the wall.
A computer or a laptop is still okay, because they're not creating heat. They're not really heating something. But if you're talking about a space heater or a hair dryer or a microwave, a toaster oven, an air fryer, a refrigerator, an air conditioner, they heat something or they cool something, those have to be plugged directly into the wall outlet.
Okay, we got to do the right thing. We got to save these firemen from coming out to so many fires if we only do the right thing. And Mr. Bass, you hear it's okay to use baking. Let me get it right, because there's baking powder and baking soda. So we don't want people to get the wrong extension. It's baking soda. So you keep that in your home. I'm going to pour it in the pan, cover the pan down, turn the fire off, and leave the lid on the pan. Don't go being nosy and trying to open it to see if the fire is out. What more can we ask our captain tonight that we need to know about fire and safety in our home? Oh, one of the questions that I have here that I was told to ask you: what are some of the things that we should put together in case there's a fire that we have to run? And preparation, what are some of the things we should have in a bag? Because I'm thinking, if no one is home and you have something packed in a bag in case of a fire, we can't get in to get it. So what can we do there? But if we're home, what are some of the things we could put together to save us and help us to get a brand new start?
So if you go on to New York City's emergency management website, it's Ready NYC. They have a list of items that you would want to have in your bag. They call it like a go bag, is what they call it. So there's a few things you would want to have, right? You would want to have a list of medications that you take, your passport, a flashlight with some batteries. There's really a big list, and it all depends on the type of emergency we're looking at, right? Is it just being evacuated because there's maybe a hurricane in the area, or is it because your apartment's on fire and you want to make sure that you have everything? So just also keep in mind that a fire versus an evacuation are very different. An evacuation, yes, you're in a rush to get out, but you have that time to grab the bag and go. In a fire, really at that point, I'm going to be honest, you're probably not thinking about grabbing the bag. You're trying to think about, let me get out of here as fast as possible and make it out of here alive. So Trying to grab a bag or going out of your way to grab a bag when you're escaping a fire is probably not something you want to really be too concerned with at that point. You want to make sure that you just get out safe.
Good night, Queen. Queen Vibes, good night to you also. Thank you for joining us. And if you missed the information that was mentioned earlier, feel free to go back to the beginning of this recording once we are finished. And feel free to please share this information. It's very touching to me to hear us talking about fire and life saving technique. And you said one thing that I did say. I don't think I have time to think about running with a bag or running with anything. You understand when it's a fire, as you say, if it's a flood or something you're trying to grab, but fire, the first thing we do, we panic. And the second thing I'm thinking about is how I'm going to get out of here or where am I going to get out? So we have to talk to some of these homeowners who don't have fire alarm and things in their lobbies and I believe that we need more check on homes to make sure that people are doing the right things in their home. And I feel as homeowners, if you don't know, it's okay maybe to call and find out, can we have someone come out and check? Do you do those kind of checks where a homeowner can call the fire department and say, is it okay to come out and check my home? Here I am, I have someone that is watching your show and he's in his 90s, Mr. DeCastro. You're living alone, you're in your 90s, and you're concerned. Is there any way to call the fire department to say, hey, I would like someone to come to my home just to give me some tips and to make sure I'm living right, have the right equipment, the right things? Do they visit the seniors' home?
Unfortunately, no. There's no program that allows us, not here in the FDNY anyway, that I am aware of, that allows us to visit people's homes for like some kind of inspection or anything like that. When we go into homes, we usually, if we go into a building, it's to inspect the common areas of the building, right? So we can inspect the staircases, the roof of a building, but in a private home, we cannot do that. No.
Okay, so it's good for the information we spoke about, Councilman Riley or someone having a day to teach us and bring out the fire department to demonstrate and teach us and educate us. That is more that we need in the community, and I hope with that we can do that. So as mentioned earlier, Mr. De Castro, is to make sure you press your alarm once a month and test it. This is the month of January. This is the time for testing. But the greatest gift, these new alarms come with 10-year guarantee battery. But still check and be sure. There's shortage in everything. And I'm glad to show you that I have my fire extinguishers, a few of them, and the 8 to 10 seconds. I didn't know what they mean. Now you taught me something very informative tonight, what it means. You have 8 to 10 seconds to use this. So with the baking soda and this, I'm armed. I'm ready. But we pray not for fire. We pray for safety and we pray. Whoops, it fell now and I get nervous. So we pray that we as a people, we do the right thing in our home to protect ourselves and stop doing our own wiring and cheap wiring and do the right thing to save a life and to save the fireman life. Is there anything else that, we talked you so long and I know you have a bunch of information, but what we're going to do is follow up with you to come out in a community where our seniors are and our people are, so you can talk more to us about how to save our life. But isn't there a fireproof box that we can put in our home to put our important document in case there's a fire?
You could get a safe, fireproof safe. That would be sufficient to put some important documents in. Absolutely.
Okay, so folks, you hear that. So put away your passport and everything. So when everything is over, you can go right back in your home and get that and start your life all over with your identification. At least they're not destroyed. Captain Michael, I'm going to give you the floor to say anything that you have to say before you leave us here tonight, but you have given us some great information, and we continue to pray for our firemen and police and all the men and women out there that is trying to save us when we are running out and you're running in. We thank you, and we can't thank you enough for the work that you do. So I will give you the opportunity to close and say a word of encouragement to our people.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you for having me and for everybody tuning in and listening up. The one last thing I want to leave everybody with is home heating. Right, home heating fires are on the rise now during these winter months. We're starting to see some fires with the space heaters and things like that. So remember, we don't want to use our stove or oven for heating. We talked about that before. It's going to create a lot of carbon monoxide. The space heaters, just a few quick tips, and I'm going to leave you with these quick tips on space heaters. Remember, it's an item that heats, so it has to be plugged directly into the wall. You want to look for that UL label when you're purchasing one. You want to look for one that has a thermostat and an automatic shut-off. So should the space heater get knocked over, it will automatically shut itself off. It won't keep running while it's face down. You want to place these in a low foot traffic area, right? You don't want it in the middle of the hallway where people are going to be walking back and forth. And you want it on a steady, flat surface where it's not going to be knocked over very easily. A space heater needs space. 3 feet around the space heater should be free of anything that can burn. And the most important thing is that you should be running the space heater in the room that you want to warm up while you're still awake. Once you go to sleep, you should be turning off and unplugging the space heater. It should not be running all night long while you're sleeping. So just keep that in mind. We have seen several fires, home heating fires with the space heaters and the ovens and things like that. So I definitely wanted to get that in there. But definitely keep in mind the importance of the smoke and CO alarms as well. Go over that escape plan with your family. Make sure everybody knows how to get out of the house if there is a fire. Make sure you know how to use your fire extinguisher, right? You don't want to try and use the fire extinguisher for the first time when there's a fire. It's going to be too late to try and figure it out at that point. So, it's all about just knowledge and really practicing and going over all the things that we discussed today to help keep you safe. So I really hope that everybody stays safe this winter, for sure.
Thank you so much. So, is there any special, you call it space heater, we always say heaters, but is there any special one? Because sometimes you hear that fire occur because someone was using a space heater. But is there any special one that, as you say, you look for the UL label? But is there any special one that is good? Some people say this one is better than this. How do you know which one is best?
No, we really don't recommend anyone in particular. We just recommend that you look for that UL label, that you look for those certain features, right? You want to make sure that it has a thermostat, that it has an overheat function. So if the space heater were to overheat, it shuts off. If it were to tip over, it automatically shuts off. You just want to make sure that you're looking for these features in the space heaters. And anything that we went over today and more can all be found on our website at fdnysmart.org. If anybody wants to follow up or read up on some of the things that we discussed tonight, they can read up on that website.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's an honor having you. It's a privilege. We can't thank you enough for this information. It's an eye-opening. And I thank you so much for this, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you more. And thank you for accepting the opportunity to be here to share with the people.
It is our pleasure. Thank you for having us tonight, and I hope everybody stays safe.
Thank you so much, Captain.
Thank you.
Stay well.
You too.
Good night.
Night.
Well, folks, you hear it here. It is such a thing to talk about fire. Nobody wants to talk about fire. Trust me, I don't want to talk about fire. It's not something that nobody wants to hear, that someone died in a fire. We should not have to die in a fire. So please share this information. Information is wealth, and we should not have to keep it to ourselves. Just remember, God loves you. I love you more, and I want to see more of us around.
Yeah, this is being man representing for Avril. Let me say Avril, me mean Avril. Let me say Avril, me mean Avril.
That's right. Beanie Man said that, and he can't go wrong. The number one show around, no matter where in the world you are, bigger than MTV, BET, no matter what you do it, I am the biggest show around town.
Sit up, sit up. Don't be, don't be. Feel the beat, don't be, don't be, don't be. Wind 'em up, don't be, don't be, don't be. Come, come, come. You hear what I say? Don't be, don't be. Hit you. A funny feeling take over me. Anytime that the masses play, like a roller coaster inside of me. Have to move till the break of day. Feel the one, feel the grind, any place, anytime. When the music hit me down there, oi, oi. I have to move with the groove anyway that I choose.
Good night, Tony. I'm here live. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you.
Come, come, you hear what I say? Alright. I think running through me body like fire inside me soul. Anytime that I hear the music, I can't help but just lose control. Feel the one, feel the grind, any place, anytime. When the music hit me down there, oi, oi. I have to move with the groove anyway that I choose. When the music hit me down there, oi, oi. So let me take it. Don't be, don't be. Watch the way time work. Feel the beat down there. Don't be, don't be. Ay, 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 ay. Why not?
Queen, what you have me playing here? Queen want to hear music. You all are something.
I give thanks to Avril. God bless you, Avril.
God bless you too, Sister B. God bless you, each and everyone who tune in tonight. You hear your fire information tonight, people. Stay safe and get your fire alarm in your house, because here with me one little fire alarm, you couldn't tell me that me not living good. Me say me have me fire extinguishers, me have my fire alarm and carbon monoxide alarm in my hallway in my house. How could you have a 3-bedroom house and you don't have no fire alarm in your bedroom? Me say tomorrow me go put one in every room. So this information wasn't just for you guys. The information was for me too. I'm embarrassed. You understand? I am really, really embarrassed that I thought, Mr. De Castro, I thought I was very equipped in my house. Now me have to go arm myself tomorrow from the basement in front of the boiler. Me have to go put down No man, me not play with this. Imagine I come in the last show of rain and what I heard was great info. I will be watching from the beginning tomorrow. Thanks for this, Avril. Thank you so much, Queen. Thank you. It really and truly, Elizabeth, I am like shaking when the man was talking. Rebecca Bass, Paula, you give me one word of trouble tonight. Me must ask this, ask this. Janice Martin, thank you so much for bringing up the baking soda. You know, no, he said don't buy no extension card at the dollar store. He said go to Home Depot where they have the UL, and the switch that you could turn off, that it goes off if it overheated. Valencia on YouTube, thank you so much. They say I don't promote my YouTube channel enough. I know I don't run Apache, I really don't. Cynthia Rodriguez, Nandi, everybody, Ram Mills, please let me do the right thing because we have to save our own life. I cannot afford nobody to hear that they plug in. Why should we have to plug in space heater? You're telling me you're paying landlord, and you're going to tell me you're paying landlord and hear what the fireman says just now? Why should somebody have to plug in? Sometimes things happen, because your boiler could break down. things can happen. So it's good to have a space heater in the house. But why is it that most people have to sit there and plug in a space heater because they don't have heat in their home? Homeowners, you all got to do better. And if you own a home and you live in your life where you're afraid, remember he said, if you're plugging in a space heater, is putting out carbon monoxide. So you all got to get it together now. These things is serious. I cannot afford to lose no friend or family. So whatever information you hear tonight from the fire department, please share this live. I don't normally tell people share my life because if you want to do it, you're going to do it. This show is about who listening, they get the information. But tonight with this fireman information, I will be happy if you share it so other people can hear it. Dr. Bent, in my home, I don't have enough fire alarms. I just learned it tonight. Tony Good Bartley in St. Kitts, thank you for tuning in. You and Curtis Cook and everyone from St. Kitts that tune in, I thank you so much. Fire alarms, may I forgive out some of them because I don't want to hear nobody taking a risk in the house sleeping and you don't have a fire extinguished alarm in your bedroom, but the fire is going off in your kitchen. You can't hear it. The fire is on in the kitchen. You don't have a fire alarm. We got to get serious about this thing. This is not a joke. And for me, I got to do better. I got to do better because I thought that the fire alarm in the hallway of my home and in the kitchen was enough. Now I got to put one in every bedroom and every room in the house. My God, I didn't know that. So me here pray for husband and me say me want a husband in 2025. I mean even protecting my life. So could you imagine? So please don't plug in a space heater in no extension cord. That's what the fireman said just now. No space heater should be plugged in like that. So